Is AI making us lazy?
There's less and less drudge stuff. Tech's taking care of a lot more of that for us, for the client, which is great. I'm a great believer in AI. We try to use AI to mine the single source of truth within the business.
We use Gemini. I look at it for our monthly reporting. My team pulled together probably like a 50-60 slide deck of all of our KPIs and commentary on it. I need to synthesize that down pretty quickly to what were the key highlights this month and what have we learned. Gemini can be great for that.
It kind of takes a wee bit of work from us. I suppose the argument could be that it makes us less required.
I think the challenge though that we have is that it doesn't make us lazy to the point where you just go, oh yeah, copy, paste, done. Because there's sometimes when you go in and you go, that's not really what the results said. It's trying to work out that balance of how can we use this to make ourselves more efficient, but not lose the ability to think about what we're doing.
You could say that about computers. You could say that about cars. You could say it about any sort of advancing.
If it's used right, I think it's made me smarter. Actually, it can enhance you. Hi, and welcome to another episode of When It Matters, the Meshed podcast. I'm Derek Granger. I head up the accountancy partnership channel here at Meshed. And today I am joined by two awesome guests, Kirsty Mitchell from FreeAgent and Alan Broome from Acumenica. Did I say that right? I had to practice that before we come in today. How are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, really good, really good. It's really good to be here. A new location for us for doing the podcast, and yet again one that I struggled to find. But other than that, yeah, no, it's good to be here. We always like to start the podcast just with getting a wee bit of who you are, what it is that you do, and then we can delve into the background stories and basically take this wherever it's going to go. Although I believe in equal opportunities, I also am a gentleman, and I think Alan might be as well. So, Kirsty, ladies first. You want to tell us a wee bit about you, what you do,
Sure.
Your story, basically?
Oh gosh, right. Where do I start? So I have been at FreeAgent for 5.5 years, heading up what we call the practice channel for our marketing team. So working out how we can get more accountants and bookkeepers aware of who FreeAgent is and what we do and which of their clients we're a good fit for. And then once we bring them in and get them part of the gang working with us, how do we help them to use the product with those clients and effectively grow their business with us? Before that, I did a little stint in ed tech, so selling apps into teachers and schools, which makes selling into accountants easy breezy because teachers are lovely, but they have no money. So it's very hard to sell into them. And before that, I sold software and data and consultancy in the energy industry. Very different again. Worked there for a decade or so. So very different coming into the accounting world. But by far, I think it's the most enjoyable industry that I've worked in.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I would say the same thing. I mean, I've been working with accountants now for 16 years. I had a wee period where I was more kind of end client facing for a couple of years there and then came back to it. And I think it was that being away and being back. Not that I was away totally, but I was like, God, I really enjoy this, which is sad. It's really sad to say that. I love working with accountants, but I do.
It's true. And it's not true what they say.
No, it's not.
I haven't been run... Oh, well.
I tell you, they definitely don't say it about you, Alan, which is quite
Nobody's
a good note.
claiming you're boring. In working, doing events in lots of different industries, I would definitely say that the accountants and bookkeepers love coming together and being in community a lot more than other industries. There's a lot less of the kind of peer-to-peer competition, at least in an
I think so.
And
I think certainly for COVID onwards, that's became even more apparent. But I'm sure we'll delve into that in more detail. Alan, you want to give us a wee intro to yourself?
Much less diverse. I've been in practice, been running Acumenica for about a decade, maybe a wee bit longer than it was various iterations beforehand, but I've been looking after small businesses' finances since, dare I say the real date? For 25 years. It's actually more than that, but we'll go with 25 years. Nothing particularly sexy or interesting, it's been small businesses. I started with my dad actually when I kind of left school rather than I didn't go through the university route or anything like that. So this area is strange to me because I didn't come to Edinburgh to spend my misbegotten youth. Yeah, it started with my dad. My dad retired through ill health when I was like 21, and I was kind of thrown into the deep end then, and that's when I started running the firm. Took on a partner, didn't work. Seen the opportunity with the contractor market. There was a change. There's always been changes in legislation in that market. There was a particular change in legislation that went well for me when composite companies were effectively outlawed. So that was like where almost like an umbrella, but each contractor had a share in the company, like different classes of
Yeah.
shares, and it was so they got paid dividends, but they did absolutely nothing in terms of running the company. So those were outlawed, which meant that these individual contractors had to set up their own individual companies, and we seen an opportunity there. My cousin's husband came to see me with 6 of his colleagues that were in RBS at Haymarket. What do you call it? Gogurburn. So that was like the nucleus of the contractor practice that we set up. Seen an opportunity there. I says, we need to really lean into this. My partner at the time says, I'm not into that. I didn't fancy it. I think it's all your eggs in one basket sort of thing. And I disagreed, and it became a kind of existential argument, and that's what caused the business to break into two. He went with like the kind of small business market. We went with the contractor market. That would have been 12 years ago, maybe, something along those lines. And basically, we've been doing that ever since. Had to kind of diversify a wee bit with the changes in contractor legislation and what have you. So
Yeah.
we've moved into still sort of service businesses, like freelancers, designers, those kind of sort of creative people. Tended to shy away from retail and that kind of stuff because it's too much in terms of constant transactional work, and it just wasn't for us. We couldn't see the profit in it, being quite honest. So we kind of stuck with that.
Yeah.
And that brings us up to date, really.
Cool. And well, we'll explore into this a lot more, I'm sure. But in terms of that kind of bet that you, bet's maybe the wrong word for it, that you took 12 years ago on with your partner at the time, that did it work out? Do you think?
It worked out for me.
Yeah.
I would say definitely aye.
It's always good when that happens, isn't it?
It was a bet in as much as I was leaving a kind of established practice, but it was less of a bet because I knew that there was a
market
a
there for
fairly
it.
strong opportunity there, and I knew you were talking about kind of the accountants being happy to be cooperative rather than competitive. I knew that the contractors were very much the same, and it was just a referral engine. Everybody referred everybody else and everybody else. So very quickly we got up to somewhere like 150 contractors. So aye, the bet worked.
Yeah.
The
Good.
bet paid off.
Good. So in terms of yourselves and FreeAgent, not want to put words in your mouth or anything like that, but I've seen the odd post online for you, Alan, and you seem to be a bit of a FreeAgent fan. I don't know if is there a term for free agenters? But yeah,
No, we would call our staff free agents, but I don't know what we would call it. We just call you a partner.
Partners,
Yeah.
aye. You said you've seen a lot online about that, and that's me. That I post that, and there's a couple others. Michael Austin, Blue Dot, I think.
Yeah.
He's a great advocate for FreeAgent, and there's others as well. But forgive me, they didn't spring to mind. But mine, what I'm saying is almost a kind of reaction to the zero acolytes. It's kind of bugs me that everybody just it's zero or nothing. You know what I mean? All right, they've done well with their advertising and stuff, but zero's fine, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the time there's too much in it, and there's a degree of overwhelm. I'm sure we'll come on to talk about information overload in a minute, but we went with zero. We went with FreeAgent because
We'll cut that bit out.
because it just works for our clients
Yeah.
and our market, our target clients as well as our good clients. And I feel like it's incumbent upon us to lean into that and make sure that the people who probably would be without us, people like us shouting about it, wouldn't know about FreeAgent, because it's, I think Kirsty will agree with me, it kind of flies under the radar a wee bit in terms of
Yeah, I think so.
like kind of mass market, if you like.
Yeah. And Kirsty, obviously, you do a great job. You and your team of flying the flag for free agent stuff. But it does. And by the way, I've not got a dog in or horse in the race here at all when it
Yeah.
comes to the software solutions. But Zero is the one that is the market leader in the UK, and quite often in our podcasts, people will mention about Zero, and I have said to Zero if they want to sponsor me personally, I'm all for the idea. Free agent as well, but I don't think anybody's going to take me up on that offer, so we're safe anyway. But as much as I don't have a horse in the race, obviously Free Agent are based up here in Scotland, so like there is a wee bit there that I like to see you guys doing good. But anybody that I ever speak to who does use Free Agent, whether it's an accountant or whether it's the end user, absolutely raves about it. But it's
Yeah.
just the getting them to use it and see that it is, well, this is my perception, that it is useful. So I'll ask the question to both of you, but yourself first, Kirsty. Where would you say that Free Agent is? That's your kind of your marketplace where you
Sure.
operate, or where you are the kind of the best fit or one of the best fits.
Yeah, so we started out in the contractor space, and we had 3 founders who essentially were in that space themselves and felt there isn't something we can use. And so they went to solve that problem, and it started off a really strong growth in that, because as Alan's saying, it's a solution that worked. It was just really simple for that business model of contractors and freelancers. Then what's happened over the past kind of, I would say 5-10 years, is that then we've watched actually the customer base kind of evolved, and we saw more other verticals coming in, and actually the partnerships that we had with accountants was growing in strength, and we realized that actually there's a lot more that we could be doing with accountants to serve more of their client base. So the product was then evolved to meet the needs of more small businesses, to the point where now we're saying, well, actually, it's a really good fit for much broader range. It's not just about that niche micro business. They're the sole person working as a contractor or freelancer. It can work for lots of others. And when we start digging into our user data and saying, oh, wow, there's companies that are using it for multi-million pound turnovers, or they've got 50 employees and they don't want to move to something else because it still really fits for them. So now the challenge is, how do we share that more with people? Because you're right, there's the people who use Free Agent love it. Our net promoter score is just insane. It's so high for both the end users and actually increasingly the accountants and bookkeepers who are using it, saying, actually, yeah, I hadn't realized Free Agent could do this much. And so I guess that's the job that we now have to do, is to spread that more. And we do have folks like Alan and others who will go and say, yes, this is a piece of software that can work for lots of our clients. But we need to kind of do that more broadly, when actually we don't have the advertising budgets that Xero or QuickBooks or Sage have.
Yeah.
But we feel that we can compete with them. Our product is just as strong as theirs.
Because did you not win? I remember when I seen it, thinking they should maybe just change that to the Free Agent award. Like, was it the Lucas or something? You won the friendliest software solution for
that
how many
one
years in a
has
row?
been hilarious, because we've won friendliest software at the Lucas for it's either 5 out of the, I think it's 6 out of the last 7 years. There was 1 year, 2021, where we didn't win, and it's a thorn in our side, because it's just it's that
that
black
blemish.
mark in the middle, and there's nothing we can do about it. But yeah, we keep winning that one, which is awesome, and a real testament to the full team. So whether it's folks who are building the product, the account managers who are working with the bookkeepers who vote for that, or it's our support team who are brilliant. quite frankly. This month in particular, you feel like you just want to go and kind of ply them with cups of tea and coffee and give them chocolates because the phones are running off the hook as people are going through self-assessment. But actually, that support that we're able to provide really sets us apart, I think.
So I should just say at this point, because I'm just about to ask you a question, Alan, like this is not a paid promotional kind of thing for FreeAgent.
But coming up, innit?
Aye, but
I was just about to go on and come in and say how good FreeAgent was as well. So.
But just on that, like, so being voted friendly software, Alan, what makes it the friendly software? Or would you disagree with that?
No, absolutely
Please do.
wouldn't. I absolutely
Disagree.
wouldn't. I've got I think an exceptional relationship with FreeAgent. Have the dubious honour of being the first platinum partner, and we have the dubious honour being the first Scottish platinum partner at FreeAgent. And I don't know if that gives us a better relationship or not, because I've only got that to compare it to. But I do believe that the I don't know how you would. How do you kind of quantify friendly? You know what I mean? All I can say is the people that I deal with at FreeAgent, it almost feels like they were picked to be friendly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kirsty, I've dealt with Kirsty for a few years. My account manager, David Rose, deserves a special mention. I get on great with David, even if he is a Hibs fan. We're not going to talk about football. I appreciate.
Can I just say, Pars beat Hibs?
So they did, of course.
Dunfermline was a light. It was very busy.
Difficult for me to get happy about that. But that's another story. And when you Kirsty mentioned the support. The support is phenomenal. It really is. If you've got a problem, you phone somebody up and they answer the phone and they're very friendly and they resolve the problem. So being friendly is all very well and good. You know what I mean? And it is a nice thing to be friendly and approachable and what have you. And it's kind of what I built my business on. But if you kind of back that up with like proper service and proper care, it's pointless, you know.
Yeah.
So while it's nice to have a friendly software sort of anchor that you use, it's always better that it's excellent.
That it actually works really
well. It
well.
goes both ways with FreeAgent.
So it kind of moved beyond FreeAgent, as I say, conscious not to make this all about FreeAgent, but I'm sure we'll come back
As
to
long
it
as
as
we
well.
can get some sound bites that I can
like
take home.
FreeAgent's the best. Which one any other
Done.
ones? We love FreeAgent. But obviously technology is huge within every sector now, with the AI and everything else that's coming down the line. The cloud software platforms like FreeAgent, Zero, QuickBooks, etc. obviously get quite a lot of airtime because they are really important in the mix. But there's loads of other softwares, and something that I've been seeing more and more from accountants is, I don't know if I'd call it fatigue setting in about the amount of tech that's being kind of put in front of them. And I say this as someone who works for a tech business who are looking to partner with accountants and help their clients. We'll not talk about mesh today because we make a point not to in the podcast. But I'm obviously very aware of this, that there's so many different softwares out there, and so many that are we've got AI in our software.
Mm-hmm.
Is it hype? Or is there stuff that you're seeing and that your team are seeing in their day-to-day that actually is moving the needle and making a difference?
A great believer in AI, how it works behind the scenes in FreeAgent, Zero, the other various pieces of tech within our stack, I don't know. I mean, it just works. So that's really the extent that I'm too concerned with. But you can see in terms of whether it's AI or whether it's just automation, that's a kind of grey area, isn't it? But there's less and less. I kind of tend to call it transactional, but the kind of drudge stuff that bookkeepers more than accountants. But I suppose that's a kind of grey area. The tech's taking care of a lot more of that for us, for the client, which is great. It's kind of takes a wee bit of work from us. So I suppose the argument could be that it makes us less required, but it's still it just means we need to move somewhere, like move our expertise, if you like, and what we do for clients somewhere different.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of like automation, explaining your bank transactions, reconciling your bank. It's tiny wee things like that, but it's like many a mickle makes a muckle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it all adds up, really, you know? So it's pretty good. Where we're finding AI is really in saving for me, I don't know about my team, I mean, I would probably need to ask them, but for me, I find AI, there's more things in AI that you can use it, and it's a lot of the time it's in terms of creating content.
Mhm.
Because ultimately, my job now is to make my team's life easier, make their job easier, and prospect for new business. That's pretty much all I do these days. And while you mentioned that it's not really a boring industry, the people within it might not be too boring, but it's quite a dry subject, and
Yeah.
it's difficult to constantly feed the machine with content. I find that difficult because I've got the quick plug for the Three Things Thursday email, and that's essentially, you could probably figure it out. It's an email that goes out on Thursday, and it contains three things.
I would never have guessed that.
It's great marketing. That.
Which, I mean, doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be when there's not an awful
Yeah.
lot happening. So what we try to use AI for is to mine the, again, sorry, I hate to use a kind of wanky term, but the single source of truth within the business, mine the information that we've got there and get the information. So you can, a simple process. Do you use, like, when you're having meetings, do you use a note taker?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So we record using Fathom, is it? Aye, it's Fathom. No, the Fathom that the
No,
free agent
the
like,
other.
it's the other
Yeah.
Fathom.
That's a confusing one.
I know. David actually asked me, "You're a Fathom user, aren't you?" When you were doing I went, "Yep," and I explained it to him, and he went, "No, that Fathom." I went, "All right." So we basically take the transcript from Fathom and put it into just now ChatGPT, and the prompt that you would use would be something like, find some information within that we can use to create content with, and it pulls out all the kind of relevant stuff. It saves you a hell of a lot of time.
Do you know, I think that's a great idea, actually. One of the guys at Vinyl, which is the kind of accountant specific one, I was at a thing, it was with Sage. Kirsty,
That's
don't
all right.
follow it with me. Last summer, and they were talking about doing that and using
Was that Jordan?
the transcripts and stuff, so that you can then create content and find out what are the things that are important to clients. And I would guess for you, you'll have multiple members of your team having meetings with clients every day. There's no way that you could spend the time to go, I'll go and listen to that call,
Mhm.
and there's a wee note, I'll take that one. Whereas you put that into an LLM and
Well, at the moment we're using ChatGPT to do it, but sorry, Fathom and ChatGPT. But I had a call with Jordan at Vinyl last week, and we're going to start doing that. But we're looking at changing our practice management system, and it's all going to happen at the same time. Pardon me. But that's, Vinyl is essentially Fathom, but it's for accountants.
Yeah.
So it's context rich as well. And the way it works in with Carbon, the practice management system that we're nearly looking at, or almost going to do, pulls
Spoiler.
everything into there. I know. So that's one thing that I use ChatGPT for.
It's interesting because we
lot.
use our whole office is on Google Workspace, so
Mhm.
so we use Gemini on as our note taker, and then I'll use Gemini again to look at it and do a similar thing. I think one of the other areas that I look at it for is our monthly reporting. So every month, my team pull together probably like a 50-60 slide deck of all of our KPIs and commentary on it, and I need to synthesize that down pretty quickly to what were the key highlights this month and what have we learned. And Gemini can be great for that because I can chuck it in, and I've created a gem for it to then know what it is I'm going to be looking for each month. I think the challenge though that we have is that it doesn't make us lazy to the point where you just go, oh yeah, copy, paste, done. Because there's sometimes when you go in and you go, that's not really what the results said. And it's trying to work out that balance of how can we use this to make ourselves more efficient, but not lose the ability to think
Yeah.
about what we're doing.
I done a post about that. I think it was yesterday, or it might have been last week, on LinkedIn about that. You know, is AI making us lazy? And I disagree, not wholeheartedly, but I disagree if it's used right. The way I use it, I'm not going to my way is the best way, but like I interrogate it and I'm really trying to delve into things. I think it's made me smarter, because there's stuff that I would not have. Like I'd gone into these rabbit holes and just the way into things where I wasn't doing that, or it was more difficult to get the information. And obviously you've got to make sure that you're careful that you're not just, it's not hallucinating and telling you things that's completely wrong. But I think if it's used the right way, that actually it can enhance you and it's a bit augmenting, as opposed to if someone just says, actually, I'm going to take all of that stuff, chuck it into Chat GPT, and then you turn up at the monthly meeting, you've not even looked at this stuff, and then go, this is all the stuff, and then that's not actually right.
Yeah.
That I think that's where the laziness and the people become a bit dumber. Would fit in, but most professionals, I don't think.
You could say that about computers. You could say that about cars. You could say it about any sort of advancing.
Yeah, I think like Google Maps, like if you
the
ask me now
Industrial
to find
Revolution,
my way here,
yeah.
like just using a traditional map, I might struggle a wee bit, and
Yeah.
I'm a hill walker.
And knowing which roads are going under and which ones are going over the top and stuff.
But I'm all right with that because but Google Maps is here, so why would I not use it? So to kind of leading on for like asking yourself, Alan, how you kind of look at technology and different things and stuff like that. How does FreeAgent try and deal with this? Because obviously you are developing new stuff all the time, but how do you get the balance right between like actually showing people what it is that you're doing, but without being like, oh, here we go, it's just another marketing bit of spiel that they're putting out. Not suggesting that anybody else does that, but yeah, how do you cope with it?
But we did do transaction categorization pre-COVID.
I kind of was going to mention that. I remember you telling me when Alan said that. I was like, yeah, you're just spoiled. That's the thing. You've had all of that for years.
I think that it goes back to what you're saying earlier around where sometimes we can be a bit under the radar with some of the things that we have. And it shocks me the number of conversations that we have when we're out at events and so on, where people say, oh yeah, but you don't have this. And we say, well, actually, yeah, we do, because people are still thinking the product was where it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So that shows we've got a job to do to get that message out a bit clearer. In terms of how we make sure that the product is being developed in the right way, there are lots of different touch points that our product team take to feed into what they're building. So there are ways that the partners who work with us can feed things back through their account manager, and that all gets kind of put into the system and as a suggestion. We have coming up our Platinum Partner event that Alan or some of his team will be at, where we bring all of our partners who have reached the platinum level. They all come up to Edinburgh and we host them in the office for the day. They get to spend some time with our CEO, with our director of product, and they're shown this is the roadmap of where we're going. And this is what we've been doing over the past year. Here are the things that you fed back to us last year that you want to see in the product, where you want to see it going, the things that would be most useful. Now, it's not to say that it becomes a shopping list and it all gets ticked off, but it can be fed in as, oh, these are the things that are going to make a difference for the partners that we're working with.
Yeah.
And so then that feeds in and we share it out. There are also other touch points throughout the year where we go out and we host roundtables with some practices who aren't yet partners, and we find out from them, what is it that's maybe holding you back from working with us? What are the things that you're looking for, or the must-have features in other products that you just can't go beyond them for?
It's just as important to understand why people don't deal with you
Definitely.
as it is to understand why people do deal with you.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's spot on. And we have a user research team, so they're going out and specifically targeting people who maybe aren't using us yet. And I think that it's pulling all of those different information sources together and combining that with, well, what is it that we can do really well? and where actually do we need to be looking at who we can be working with. So what are the right integrations for us to have into the product that make it work for the partners that we're serving. And I think that's where we get to our integration suite of these are all the other softwares that we know that the practices who are working with us use. How do we make sure that those things work as well as they possibly can?
Yeah.
And that drives the team forward.
And do you spend like a fair bit of time then with those other kind of software vendors that are serving accountants to try and see where there are those connections?
Yeah, I'm not going to claim that I personally do it, but we have what we call our integration squad, and that is their job. They're going out there and meeting with different integrations that we work with already to see where can this expand out. A lot of work was done on our API a year or so ago to make it work better. I'm not going to get into the technicals because I'm completely out of my depth, but it was quite limited in terms of what would be passed on the API before, but they've expanded that, and it's meant that the integrations that we have are much deeper than they maybe would have been in the past, so they work a lot better.
Yeah, I would say certainly from and I can't take any credit for this because I am not a developer, but certainly I know that our development team, certainly like the likes of FreeAgent, and some others that are quite quite nice with sharing their APIs and stuff like that. We'll probably leave that there. I think that probably covers that one.
I think the important thing about what Kirsty's talking about, the integrations, I don't know if it's fair to say this, but I think that most users don't want to be given a pile of integrations and say, pick that. They want to be, and I think that FreeAgent, I like to think that Acumenica is the same. We've got enough trust within our clients or users, however you want to call them, that they will trust us to make the recommendation rather than just give them a pile of stuff.
Yeah.
So the good thing about the FreeAgent recommendations, integrations, I beg your pardon, is anybody who wants an integration for a specific, if it's cash flow management or what have you, they'll go in and they'll say, oh, there's maybe 2, 3, and they'll have enough trust that it's a deep relationship rather than a broad relationship. So they can, well, this is going to work for FreeAgent, it's going to work for us because FreeAgent have taken the time to look at it and assess whether it works for not every FreeAgent user, but it's going to work for most of them. Whereas if you go to Xero, like the Xero app store or integration store, is enormous, and you're no further forward with your choice or your choosing of the integration because there's that many of them. You know what I mean?
So it's like if you went and Googled that you're looking for that, you're going to get a whole list of stuff and
well, almost it's almost like Googling it.
Yeah,
and I think that from us, we like to be in a trusted advisor outlook, you know what I mean? And I think FreeAgent's kind of the same. If we say to our clients, go to FreeAgent, they'll go to FreeAgent. If we say go to Xero, and we do,
That's fine.
because it doesn't work for everybody. We know that, you know.
Yeah.
We'll go there. We would never say go to QuickBooks because that's just hideous.
sorry, QuickBooks.
And then, like our insurance partners, our financial advisor partners, other partners, can't remember what I was going to say, banking, metal. Our clients trust us to know that we're not sending them there because we're getting a kickback or for whatever reason. They know that we're going there because we've taken the time to make sure that these people are good fit, you know what I mean? It's one thing that we find is quite important. It's best isn't always best. It's best fit that's more important.
Yeah.
Best fit beats best.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen you putting a post on
I would say that quite a lot.
But the best fit, saying we might not be the best accountants, but then at the bottom we probably are the best.
Well, no, I don't know if that's a great claim to make anyway. But there are many kinds of business. There's many kinds of accountants, and we mentioned earlier on about it being quite a nice sharing kind of community in the accounting, and it is. It's either co-opetition or comparation, co-opetition.
There's a guy I know, he calls it collaboration.
Collaboration, that's even better. And we've got accountants that give us business because they'll have inquiries. We know what in that. Go and see Alan. And we've got accountants we get business.
Yeah.
We're looking at
I
what
seen,
in that. You know what I
just
mean?
last week I seen you put one on
and
for
why
a
would you-
charity audit
There
on
you go,
LinkedIn.
aye.
You know where.
That's a hard thing to find.
Yeah.
I'm a charity auditor, but that's probably micro niche. So I don't see why you would limit yourself to no limit yourself. The opposite of limit yourself. Why you would just try and be all things to all men.
Yeah.
And I think that
I
when
don't even know where I started with that.
That's-
Sorry.
That's
when,
normally a
when
good
you
sign.
were saying before though about you're almost apologetic sitting beside me on the couch and mentioning that you put some clients on zero,
Mhm.
but I think that that's a really important thing for accountants to be hearing right now is you don't have to be wedded to one.
Yeah.
That actually FreeAgent isn't the best fit for every
Mhm.
customer that you have, but we are a fit for more than maybe you think.
Yeah.
And in the same way, we can sit quite comfortably within a practice alongside a Xero or a QuickBooks or even Sage. But it doesn't, not any of us is going to be the fit for every type of client. And if you niche into one particular area, maybe then you could say, okay,
Correct.
well, actually only one software works for us.
I see a lot. You see it as well, Kirsty. That there is, and I'm going to talk about them again. Sorry, I hope this isn't going to be good for the algorithm. But Xero, there's hundreds of practices are Xero only, right? Which is fine. We were FreeAgent only for a good time. Now we're FreeAgent first. But we were only FreeAgent only because our clients fitted
Yeah.
FreeAgent and FreeAgent fitted our clients. You get these Xero or what have you practices, and someone will come in and it's not the best fit for them, but they'll kind of shoehorn them in because they want the new business, they want the client. I feel that that's not serving the client properly, but it's serving the practice because they got a new business. Ultimately, it's not serving the practice because the client will become frustrated. But if you back yourself enough, if you're confident enough in your business, you should be able to say, listen, your business doesn't suit our exclusive software that we use. You probably better go and see somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, I've done that in the past, but I've also seen people say, no, you've got to come in. So you got a contractor that's on QuickBooks, let's say, and they're paying ridiculous fees because they're not a fit for that particular practice. And the practice should have says, listen, QuickBooks isn't for you, we're probably not for you. Go and see
Yeah. So I was
us
thinking,
or get
Alan.
or yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to start sounding smarter than I'm. Most people have gauged that I'm not, but I don't know if you've read the book Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, but he talks about this finite and infinite kind of thing, and I think people with a finite kind of mindset, it's like, oh right, there's an opportunity, I need it because there's no, there might not be another one. Whereas actually, if you've got that kind of infinite mindset of like, there's plenty of business out there and plenty of stuff that's going to be brilliant for you and that you can serve well and you're going to be the right fit for them, then it changes the way that you look at things, and actually you can become a lot more collaborative with people and go, do you know what, that's not for me. I don't do charities for, I'm just using that example.
I mean,
is there anybody
the thing
that
you've also got to remember is if you've got a team that's actually doing the work, and if they're becoming exasperated because you're just taking business in to get the business, then you're not going to get their best work either. You know? And I think that's important. A lot of the time, people at the top of a business that run the business will take any business they can get, and then it comes in and the client's going, or the account manager's going, no, this is rubbish, I'm not dealing with this. And then but eventually it filters down to the work, and then that becomes a client frustration, and you lose the client, and rightly so, because you're not doing your best work for that client.
Yeah.
And that's because the guy at the top, or the guy who signed the business, me ultimately, has done it wrong. You know? So you've got to be careful with that.
Absolutely. So just on that, and it's something I had it in my mind I wanted to speak to the two of you about today anyway. But since you just spoke about that winning business and stuff like that, Kirsty, obviously you're a marketing, can we say genius? Is that
please
too
don't.
much?
Far
But
too
you're a
much.
marketing expert, or Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
marketer.
yeah, marketer,
Let's go
right?
with
We'll go
that.
with that. But a very
Underplay.
good one at that. And Alan, you certainly, my own personal thoughts on it is, I think you're really good at marketing because the way that you come across on social media, like no other accountant in the UK, which I think is probably one of your USPs, and that you stand out for that. But also, you've got good stuff to say. But I guess where I'm kind of going, so I want to kind of delve into this a wee bit. But I see nowadays, I think as a career sales person or business development person who's been doing it for 26 years, I always knew marketing was important. Now I think marketing is pretty much everything when it comes to sales, because not everything, obviously, you've still got to be able to sell, but being able to do that. So I'd love your kind of thoughts on I suppose yourself first, Alan, just in terms of how you try to market the things, what things work or what things don't work, or what it is that you're trying to kind of achieve. I know that's a pretty crap question, but hopefully you get the the underlying question that I'm trying to get to.
Kirsty will know much more about marketing and audience and stuff than I will. And she'll be much more technical about it and done more studies about it and what have you. I probably stumbled into what works, and it's basically understanding your audience. So for that, then you've got to define your audience, right? So we're talking about niching, or no being all things to all men. You can't speak to everybody, so you've got to choose to speak to somebody. So we choose to speak to a certain type of person. And then once you've understood who your audience are, you've got to then understand where they're at. So in my case, it's LinkedIn, although it seems to be Reddit as well, which is something that
I seen that
we might
yesterday,
need
so
to-
we've started doing a bit of stuff on
something we
Reddit.
might need to chat about.
We have to.
And once you know where they are, you've then got to understand what to say to them and how to say it.
Yeah.
And possibly, as you've kind of touched on as well, try to be a wee bit different.
Yeah, because
know.
you can be quite provocative.
course I can.
At
I mean,
times. I mean, that's probably the understatement
I mean-
of the year so far.
It was so naive to think that it's done for the sake of being provocative, because it isn't. It's to get eyes on your stuff.
Yeah.
And then new eyes on your stuff a lot of the time. What you're saying, what I'm saying, I may believe, I may not believe. A lot of the time, it's just a bit of a wind up. A lot of the time, I'll see somebody say something, and I'll think that's a load of shit. I'll put the other
The counter argument to it, yeah.
argument to it, and see what happens there. And then if you get the right eyes on it, then it works. I try to be serious as well. You know what I mean? So we'll maybe go with one, let's call it provocative post, then the next time it'll maybe be something about the Ducks or the kids or the football, and then the next one will be something relevant.
Yeah.
So that kind of works. I don't know, there isn't any study involved in doing it. It just, that's what kind of works for us, you know. And then that's really all we do, you know. I mean, the Three Things Thursday, that's I'm talking about it again. It's no marketing, but of course it is ultimately.
Yeah.
It's just giving free content away. 3 articles, 200 words per article on an email, goes out to just shy of 2,000 business owners or contractors or freelancers or relevant people a month, a week, I beg your pardon. And we constantly get inquiries.
Yeah.
And it ultimately, people look at it and go, he's saying sensible things and he's giving us it for nothing. There isn't any marketing. It's no topped and tailed with get in touch with us. There's no calls to action. It's like, here's this week's 3 things, then the 3 things, and then see you later. It's as simple as that. And I don't know if that resonates, and it doesn't, because it doesn't feel marketing-y or salesy. It kind of counterintuitive, if you like. People, what is it they say, that people don't want to be sold to, they want to buy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I suppose it's just encouraging that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, I think the things that you're doing, clearly they're working. You know, I think that, you know, three things Thursday only needs to resonate. There only needs to be one of those points resonates with one person enough that they're thinking, oh, that's a problem I've got, or that's something that I've been thinking about. And
or how come my guy hasn't told me about
yeah,
that as well?
Yeah, and that's it. It just opens up that conversation. What about yourself, Kirsty, as the marketeer in the room? what's your thoughts on kind of marketing and where it's going and how
Yeah.
important it is in that sales and marketing mix?
So I find it very amusing the number of times I have conversations with people and they describe something they're doing, saying, "Oh, but it's not marketing." So, like when you say about that email, I would straight away be, "Well, no, that absolutely is marketing," and I'm not
Everything's
criticizing.
marketing.
Yes, and I think
Everything's
that's
marketing. If you're in a
that's the
business, everything you do is marketing.
That's it. It's that we're all selling as well.
Absolutely,
Like,
I suppose so. Aye.
and that is as a marketer, it's kind of a it's a double-edged sword, because yes, that's wonderful, everyone's seeing that every touch point that you have with a brand is marketing. So whether it's something that is paid for, so or it's just an action and an outreach to someone, or just being somewhere and them coming across your brand, but there is a real thing around kind of, and it's maybe harking back to Mad Men and things like that, of people looking and going, oh well, if it's not advertising, it's not marketing.
yeah.
Or if it's not a big flashy event or a trade show, it's not really marketing. And I was doing a panel at Accountex last year, and he won't mind me calling out on it, but Johan said, "Oh, we haven't done marketing at Engager," and I sat there, I was like, "Wow, that's crazy," because actually the events that they had been running, they'd done Engager labs, they'd built this community, they're having conversations with people all the time and using that to feed back into the product. And in my head, I was like, that's all marketing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great thing. The more people are getting involved, I think that there's also, though, and this is where I kind of get onto my soapbox, is there's a bit of a feeling of, if you're using your LinkedIn profile, if you're building up stuff there, then that's the whole of marketing. And that's the only way that people are building things. But actually, it's a really small portion of it when you look at all the other things
Ouch.
My elbow, sorry.
all the things you could be doing and all the things you maybe are, but you're only thinking, oh well, we're just, the marketing we do is on LinkedIn, but actually you're doing an email once a week, or you're spotting things and sending them to a client because you realize that there's a fit there. It's just trying to work out how can you use everything.
Sorry, Kirsty, to interrupt you, but from a like kind of practice owner, small practice owner's perspective, it's kind of difficult because you've got, I wouldn't say infinite resource to do your marketing, but you've got a much more resource than me and people typical of me. So we've got to kind of pick
you've
a
got
lane
to
sort of thing. You know what I mean?
pick
And
something to do.
that doesn't mean you just stick to that forever. You know, LinkedIn is becoming, I feel, less relevant than it was maybe 5 years ago. So we've got to think about looking at other avenues as well. You know, but Kirsty's right, in as much as you can't just be sticking to one thing. You know, unless it works. You know.
Yeah, and there's no shame in that. So if you found that actually your Thursday email is bringing you in more in terms of new customers to you, then you say, well, actually there's less pressure on LinkedIn to be the lead magnet. It's the newsletter, so you want to be driving people to that rather than them DMing you. That's the way to go. And you say, well, great, if you're going to then take something and scale it up, and if you were thinking, oh, I can bring in, now's the time for me to bring in a marketer or someone who can support me, it's then working out actually which bits do you get them to support you on. Actually, is it that Thursday email? Brilliant. Go all in on it.
So you just mentioned something there about, whether to bring in a marketeer or the other question I've seen accountants quite regularly asking now is, should we bring in a business development resource like full time? And my answer to that is always no. As someone who has worked in accountancy firms and has worked fractionally with accountancy firms in my own consultancy, I've never been able to make it work commercially. It just doesn't. It doesn't work. It can, but it's really difficult. And I would say certainly more so from the sales perspective as opposed to the marketing. I can't speak to that as much, but you either have to be prepared to, to make a loss on that person for a fair chunk of time, and I would say 9 to 12 months, or get really lucky and get someone who can come in, hit the ground running. So it's, do you take someone that's senior but is going to demand or command a high salary, and even then there'll still be a period of time because covenants and all that kind of stuff. Or do you try and get somebody younger and bring them in, or is there something else? So I guess question on that, and it looks like you've got an opinion on it, Alan, just because you.
Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't.
I've tried the BDM aspect. I tried bringing somebody through the business that was basically running the admin and being quite involved in the kind of BDM onboarding and that kind of thing. Got her to try and like start doing discovery calls and start doing outreach and stuff. Didn't work. And then someone who worked for me years ago moved to Spain, then moved back. She was looking for work. Brought her in to do the BDM because she had a sales background. That didn't work either. So the problem I find is you even when you're marketing or doing BDM or doing discovery calls, there's a degree of technical expertise and expertise in general required that, forgive me, marketing people tend not to have. Do you know what I mean? And so being client facing, the client instantly sees this guy maybe doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it's getting that kind of balance, and you're right. I suppose if you're looking to kind of overcome that, as it's maybe looking at a fractional situation. There's a lot of fractional marketing officers, or whatever you want to call them, but you've got to be very careful to get the right one as well,
because you don't want to get someone who comes in and they will just say, this is what you need to do, and they're very hands off, and you're like, oh, well, that's just added more work for me because they've told me what to do, but they're not actually going to do it.
If you're going to retain an expert, regardless of what it is, I'm a believer in trusting the expert, getting out their road and let them do their business, let them do their work. But if you're going to do that, you've got to be damn sure that it's the right person to do it, because if you get out the road and they're absolutely honking bad, it's going to cost you more to unpick it. And we had that experience as well. We used a marketing agency.
I was just going to go, I've had the experience of working with agencies and stuff, and not to be discrediting agencies, because I do think that they have a place and for the right clients that works well, but quite often for those, general practice, accountancy firms that, don't want to come the run of the mill, but you know what I'm talking about, firms. I think that a lot of the time what they offer is that they will do tasks. So they might have this is what worked for another firm. What works for you is not going to work for, a another accountancy firm, but it's a one size fits all. And they'll complete the tasks, and then, that's we done what we said we were going to do, and they have done. But there's no real, I don't want to say ownership, that's the wrong way, but they aren't invested in it, because ultimately if it doesn't work out, on to the next one.
You see a lot of, I remember, this maybe doesn't happen so much now, there was an instance last year, I think it was probably around about budget time, everybody at budget time, everybody gets filing in. Sort of thing. I don't, because nobody realises there's that much budget crap on social media that if you didn't post, nobody realises you don't post.
Yeah.
And then people say, I seen what you said on LinkedIn about the budget. I didn't say a thing about it. But there was one, it must be like, you maybe not be able to remember this, Kirsty, because you're a lot younger than me, but I'm not saying anything about Derek. But there used to be a big thing at budget time. There was a rush to get your budget summary out. Like paper and remember we the folded tax card and what have you. Absolutely pointless. Everybody done exactly the same thing, and if everybody does the same thing, you're not marketing yourself, you're marketing everybody. You know what I mean? And last year on LinkedIn, there must have been the kind of modern iteration of that was that a marketing agency says, we'll do your budgeting posts for you, or your budget posts, I should say. And I seen a guy I know quite well actually posted about the budget, and you could tell it was marketing written rather than accountant written, just the way it was written. And then exactly the same post came for another one, and then another one, and I'm going, there's a marketing agency that's charging people to do that. And so there was a keyword on it or a phrase that I searched on LinkedIn, and there was like 130 of them or something.
Same
All
Wow.
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, and that's we're talking about getting an agency in. If you're going to get an agency in, they've got to be doing the right thing for you.
Mhm.
You can't have them. So it's one thing to have an agency that's industry expert, but if the consequence of that is that they're doing it exactly the same as they've done for everybody else, then it's kind of defeating the purpose, you know.
Yeah.
It probably not just defeating the purpose; it's probably actually doing you more harm than good, you know.
Yeah, and I've seen the argument kind of said, well, if you're doing it for one accountant in Edinburgh and another one, I don't know, Reading or something like
Mhm.
that it's different audiences, but still,
Does that really
it's just
I don't know if that
apply
translates.
these days?
Yeah.
Does
When-
it really, you know?
Especially if
Yeah.
LinkedIn and email are your main channels.
Yeah.
Go, well,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, where
Yeah,
your
as
location
opposed
doesn't
to
really matter.
sending it to somebody's letterbox.
Yeah.
As I say, when I say I've seen the argument, I don't know that it's one that I subscribe to myself. I remember because you posted something about it, and there was just loads of them all with this, and it wasn't even the best message in the first place, to be honest.
I can't remember if it was any good or no, you know.
Yeah.
I think the kind of geographical argument that you made there doesn't really hold water if it's inspected anyway.
Yeah.
Especially if you niche down into a specific area, then you need to be broad in terms of your
Absolutely.
geography. You know.
Yeah.
When I said earlier on that my dad started the firm, and when my dad started the firm, probably about 40 years ago, I would say 90% of his clients were within 3 towns, Falkirk, Grangemouth, Bowness, that kind of area. And now I've got clients who live in, like, I had two discovery calls in a row one day a couple of weeks ago. One was in Singapore and one was on the east coast, no, the west coast of America. He was in LA, and they both stayed there. They stay there kind of half the year sort of thing. But they're on UK businesses, obviously, and that just shows you the kind of how far you can go. So the geography
Yeah.
aspect there doesn't really work,
No,
you know?
absolutely. So just on that then, and I'm stealing your three things Thursday, but what would be 3 things, right? Of each, we'll start with you, Kirsty, on this one. 3 things that you would recommend to any accountant at the moment that they should be doing from a marketing perspective in 2026.
Oof. Okay, 3 things. I think I'm going to go back to what you were saying earlier, because you summarized it quite nicely, even though you prefaced it with "I'm not a marketer" and there's not much structure to this. But knowing your audience, to know who you actually want to be going after, because there's no point in going after everyone, because you're just going to get lost in the noise. So spending more time than you think on understanding who that is, so that if you're really clear on that bit, the rest will flow from it. If you understand who they are and where they are, then you'll know what are the right channels for me to be using with that audience. So are those people that I want to go after? If you're an accountant and you know that you want to be, your ideal customer is a bricklayer, they're unlikely to be on LinkedIn. They're probably not even going to open your Thursday email. So where are you going to find them? And there's a bit of a pet project that Stuart, who's our CSO, and I for years have been batting back and forth, is we actually we see some of the other software providers going out there and sponsoring the EFL or the Six Nations or the Women's World Cup. And we're like, we want to go into grassroots football and just go be in different, whether it's on the sides of pitches around the UK. Go, that's where you're going to find a lot of these small business owners, because they're there with, and I say this as a football mum, they're there with their kids 2-3 times a week looking at those placards. They're standing there on a Saturday morning in the pouring rain looking at them. And so there's that space. Half of the cars or half of the vehicles at the football are vans. So you know that that's where your tradesmen are.
Yep.
So I'd be going into that deep dive. Sorry, I'm going more than 3 things. That's my
No,
first
that's
thing.
great.
So your deep dive on who it is that you want to go after.
Can I just say, by the way, just if Free Agent do want to sponsor a grassroots football team,
Yeah.
Johnston Borough 2016s, we are open to offers.
Do you know, I actually, I want to go out and go, yeah, get people to nominate their team and then us do it that way. But
Yeah.
I don't quite have the budget sign off on it. It doesn't really help that NatWest, who our parent company ultimately, they sponsor Team GB, but we can't get in on that one, and that would be good. But anyway, so know your audience, then work out where are they to work out what channels you're going to go out with, and how is it that you are addressing a problem that they have that nobody else is. So what, because there are lots of things that when we go back to thinking about the software, you can be using multiple different accounting software with clients. There'll be maybe a couple of different things will fit for a particular client, but working out for you as an accountant, what is the service that you provide that's going to meet the needs of that audience better than them going to somebody else that they've got open to them at the moment, or sticking with who they're with. So know your audience, where they are, and what it is that you're doing for them. So if you can nail those 3, then all of the execution of your LinkedIn post, your advertising, all the rest of it will all come out through that.
You must be sitting there thinking, Alan, I'm doing this right, because
that's why it's
your
fine.
whole thing about is being the best.
I'm also sitting here thinking, where am I going?
I wish you're
3
three.
things am I going to say?
3.
I'm just going to say that. You know? I'm not going to add 3 to that. There isn't 3 to add to it.
That's a cop out.
Well done. When Derek says you go first, Kirsty, I thought this could go one of 2 ways. She's going to have 3 items that I've thought of, or I'm going to give a wee bit longer to think about it, and it's went the first way. I would just say, can it be authentic? That's one. And recognise that people are going to buy from people. It's no businesses buying for businesses.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And whatever that manifests itself as for you to find out as a business owner. But just make sure that you're not just talking about tax rates. Do you know what I mean? How to save tax and stuff. I mean, that's important, of course it is. But everybody's saying it. You've got to be different as well. You know what I mean?
I think, and it's that authentic part, I think, is a bit that, I mean, I've struggled with that over the years, and you know, I'm a prolific poster on LinkedIn and stuff like that, and have been for years. But it's probably only I remember maybe going back maybe 5-6 years ago, going, I'm going to be more authentic, going to be more myself, and then probably looking at it about 12 months ago and going, I'm going to be more authentic and be more myself, because I think there's levels of authenticity that you get to.
There's a very fine line that you've got to tread as well between being authentic and being a bit of a clown. Do you know what I mean? And
I'm not sure I figured that out. But
I miss it quite a lot as well. You know,
But even admitting that is being authentic,
I suppose
because
it is,
of the fact that there's some people who it's so polished that you just think, you're only seeing that kind of shiny side of the apple. You're not seeing the other side that's maybe, there's the imperfections. And that can actually have the opposite impact that people want, because it can make people intimidating or unrelatable.
I've got a bit of an admission to make, because I've got a black spot in my brain that I can never remember the tax rates and the tax. I can't even remember what they're called. The tax bands. You know, like the level when you go to.
Well, it's not surprising. We have so many in Scotland.
I can never remember it. So, and that's a question that's asked to you quite a lot when you're on discovery calls and what have you. And I can never remember them. And it really used to kind of embarrass me that I couldn't. Something that's like, you've really got to know this, you stupid arse. And I can never remember it. And then I remember posting it about it again, going back to LinkedIn, posting on it saying, kind of confession time, I can never remember these important things. And most people came back and says, that's not what we're really interested in anyway. You know, we know that it's software that calculates that. We know that you've got a team that looks after that. You didn't need to worry about that. But I did. It was kind of embarrassing, you know what I mean?
Do you know, it's funny you say that, because I was in R&D tax credits for a number of years, kind of, and I used to be able to remember what it was you would get, you know, the pennies and the pound versus, you know, if you were loss making or if you were profitable. And then they changed the scheme, and there's at the moment I think there's like 6 or 7 different rates. I'm really not that close to it now, but I stopped trying to just remember because I can't. But like, it's just I kept trying to get myself to remember it and going not. So now I've got a wee table on my desktop, and if somebody asks, I'll just go
Yeah,
and
I've got
answer
one of
that.
them.
But yeah,
I've
but
got one of them.
but you feel bad when you don't because you
I
think
know.
I should be able to remember this. But yeah, certain things just for whatever reason it's either doesn't go in or because you've got that old retained memory, it becomes a bit muddled. But no, I think you've got some really good stuff there for people in terms of market. And I think the only other thing I would add to it, and this is really obvious stuff, but it's something that I see people kind of getting wrong, not wrong, but going about it the wrong way is just that consistency thing. Like I'm sure that your LinkedIn stuff and the you know your 3 things Thursday, it, it I might be wrong. You might have posted one time and then wow everything. It's not. It just takes time. And I always say to people when they're asking me for any advice is, you know, there's a lot of people come into January like, right, I'm gonna absolutely nail this social media stuff this year. I'm going to post every day and I'm going to do this. But then they get, you know, they might get through January. I mean, January being obviously a busy month for accountants generally, but by the time they get to February or whatever, they've lost the impetus, they've lost the will to live, and they've gave up on it. Whereas the people that do well are the ones that just consistently post and don't worry too much about whether it's a hit or not, because
Yeah.
If
you get no control over it really.
if you're at the kind of start in your marketing stage, you know, you've never really had to market or it's started your new business or whatever you excuse me, the time where you're, as you say, you start, you're doing it and this is a waste of time, this is nothing's happening, I'm just going to stop. It's at that stage where you should lean into it and go further. That was my 2 out of the 3 points. When you think it's not working is the time when you should really lean into it. You've got to watch about kind of sunk cost
Yeah.
fallacy as well. Make
Yeah.
sure that you're doing the right thing. You should always be willing to iterate and change your message and change what you're going to do. But you've got to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's don't stop marketing. Even when this is something that a lot of people do. Talking about January being a busy month for a lot of accountants. Not so much for us because of our structure and the way our clients are still busy, but we're not pulling our hair out at 11:30 every night. Aye, so accountants are busy in January, so they stop marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
When
you
you're busy, keep marketing
Yeah.
because you're not always going to be busy.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. And just on that, I think I can't remember who it was that mentioned LinkedIn's maybe not as it's not as important, but it maybe isn't cleaning the same results that it did a few years ago. I remember the times where I could do a wee video of me. I used to call them R&D rambles, out walking my dog, chatting about stuff, and then people would just contact me. That was
Yeah.
great. Like, oh, there's another opportunity. Now I can put out posts every single day of the week and probably get 1 or 2 direct DMs if I just do that. And I think for me that's where I've seen that there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, LinkedIn's not any good anymore. It's not good. It's changed. There's loads more people posting." Obviously,
think-
AI has opened things up
Yeah.
a lot as well, so that you can post. And I use AI. I'm not afraid to say that I use it. I don't get it to just write stuff for me. I work with it, but it helps me to get stuff out more consistently because I'm not a writer. But for me, one of the things that I would say, certainly looking at stuff like that, is that it's getting involved in conversations and stuff like that. But again, it's just it compounds over a period of time. And you know, just looking at my because I do loads of outreach. I've outreach to both of yous, but by doing that outreach, you know, after I've posted stuff, maybe like just using our example, Kirsty, I think you commented in a couple of my posts,
Yeah.
and then I commented in some of yours, and then I sent you a message saying thanks very much for commenting on some of my posts.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a chat? Like, I had no agenda at all. Like, I don't really know what it is to talk about, but
I
let's
think
have a chat. You're a nice person.
It's working. It's trying to work out how do you work with the channel. So yes, LinkedIn keeps changing. You think that you've cracked it, and then the algorithm changes, and everyone panics because it's doing things differently. But if you're just going and continuing on, like you're saying, just got to keep being consistent and push something again and again and get the same message, the same you going through it, and that not just being it's not just a broadcast channel. You've got to use it in a conversation. So you need to be commenting on other people's posts as well as putting your own things out there. Otherwise, you're kind of screaming into the void.
Yeah.
And as more people get comfortable with posting on there or are using AI more, you find that our attention span is reducing on it, because you start reading something, you go, yeah, not interested. But if you have something that's a bit different, there's almost more pressure to cut through.
Yeah.
So you need to bring that personality. You need to bring something that other people aren't necessarily talking about, and that's hard.
Yeah.
So it's everything as it gets more sophisticated, you go, okay, we've got to try a bit harder with it. It's not going to just come easy. That maybe 5-10 years ago, when there are less people active on there, it maybe was a bit
LinkedIn was
easier.
brilliant. Like, it was great, and I don't blame people for wanting to go back to how it was, but like, it's not. We're never going back
Well,
there.
it's like advertising. It's no longer just about big printed billboards.
Yeah.
Although I would say on that one, best thing that I think that we've done in the last little while is putting adverts on the backs of buses.
I knew you were
Yeah.
gonna
They're
say that.
everywhere.
I know.
I mean, it was one that we don't work with a lot of agencies, but we work with a media buying agency, and we had a bee in our bonnet about, we're like, we want to do taxis. We want to be on the side of a taxi, and we'll have them run around Edinburgh, and it'll be great, and then it'll build up some brand, and we can do some stuff with it. And they were like, we think you should do buses. And we were like, what, why? And it was like, well, you can be on these buses for 2 weeks, or you can have the taxis for 2 months. And we're like, well, 2 months, obviously that's the one to do. And it was the same price, but there were 50 taxis and 300 buses. And so we're like, do we do the buses for the 2 weeks or the taxis for the 2 months? Now, they're going, I don't know if they'll hate this or the company that they bought the media from will hate it, but they're both still running 2 months on. So although the buses were only 2 weeks, actually sometimes going to those old school kind of printed advertising options really works, because nobody's kind of changed the ads on the buses yet.
Yeah.
And so they're still running. So it's actually the best
Ideal.
ROI I've had from it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll not put this out for a wee while so you can get another couple of
Get
months
another
out of it. So that was actually going to be one of my questions next, and I seen you looking at time, so I'm just, I should have looked.
I don't know
at
what
how
time
are
it
we?
is because my watch has stopped.
I mean, we'll
It's
put
quarter
this,
past.
this is a live recording,
It's-
so I think we're still all right for about another 10 minutes.
It's
or so.
6:15
Long as
apparently.
Oh
that
dear.
was a long podcast. I don't want to just focus on marketing, but it feels like it would be silly not to be speaking about marketing when, as I say, we've got yourself and Alan, somebody who I think is really good at it, does it well. Other than
We've even
like,
dressed the same.
I
Have you
know.
noticed it?
did you?
Simpatico.
Yeah.
And funnily enough,
too
I nearly
fancy.
put on a pair of sandals as well. There's no pink stripes right now.
I was just waiting for you to go like that, and it was high heels you were wearing. I nearly put on my high heels as well.
That's just the weekends, Derek.
Yeah. So on market stuff, you touched on it, and I'm sure it was something that I seen on LinkedIn maybe yesterday, that someone came to you via Reddit.
Correct.
As being a channel. It's something we're exploring, and it's certainly picking up, and with kind of AI suggested kind of content and stuff like that. Apparently Reddit and things like that, or, well, I say apparently, I've checked it, and it is using that to track stuff. So I can't remember, is it called AEO as opposed to SEO, where we're getting the agentic kind of engine optimization or something like that. But what other kind of not so obvious, I say not so obvious because it could be obvious, it could be like putting on the back of a bus advertising, but things that you think people should maybe explore in 2026, whether it's something that worked in the past, but or something that's people are just sleeping on because actually they're not realizing it. So I'll go to you first on this one.
I like Kirsty's idea of going old school.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the time the things that last longest because they're the best. You know what I mean? And I think in terms of like paper advertising, like through the thing on the door, letterbox, Jesus, through the letterbox advertising can be quite effective, especially now that less people were doing it.
Yeah.
You know, so again, we're talking about being different. That's something that we used to do. We used to get quite a bit of success. So we're maybe looking at doing that again.
Yeah, we've started doing a little
But
bit
again,
of
it
kind
comes
of
back to you've got to remember that you've got a specific audience. So just
Yeah.
didn't do a Domino's pizza job, and you've also got to remember that the conversion rate is tiny. You know what I mean? So if you're going to send out 1,000 letters, you'll maybe get 5 people get in touch with you. You maybe sign at 1. So you've got to make sure that the ROI and what have you
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
as well. You know.
Yeah, we've started doing a wee bit of guerrilla type marketing where we're trying to do little mini campaigns that there is a bit of cost involved in them, but to the right audience, done the right way, we're seeing some returns. I know that FreeAgent had certainly over Christmas used your in the lead up to Christmas the FreeAgent Advent calendar, which I can only guess must be it didn't look as if it was something that you knocked up. And it cost,
do you know,
it
is
it looks like it's a serious thing, but it must work. Well, I say it must work. I'm assuming it works because I've seen people all over LinkedIn putting stuff on about the FreeAgent calendar. And stuff.
It's a funny one, right? Because we did it one year just as a bit of a joke. We're like, oh, who gets an advent calendar anymore that doesn't have chocolate in it? Like, what happened to old school jokes and things? So we did one, and it got created a bit of buzz, and we're like, oh, right, people quite like this. So then we said, well, let's do it again. Second year round, our content team, were just like, oh, okay, fine, we'll do another one. By year 3, they were just like, oh, are you kidding me? So we themed it, and then somebody suggested putting facts in there as well. The facts tanked. People did not like there being facts in there.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, just like, we want jokes.
Yeah. And so we went back to the jokes, full jokes this year. And it was funny because the anticipation of it, that created the most buzz. There was, in the first year, there were like some firms who would be posting a video of them reading out the joke to their team every day. Now that hasn't necessarily happened every other year, but it did create a buzz.
Yeah.
We are at a point now where we're like, oh no, a 5th year. Do we really have it in us? Because it takes a while. And
but I bet if you don't do it, people will miss it. They'll be like, why did you not do that? So it's
I'll admit, I'm getting close to just reusing the jokes from the first year, because I don't think anyone's kept them. But we'll see what happens in December. But I think that the important thing with it is to find something and work out how can you make the most out of that one thing. The story that I like is one that I think I read on LinkedIn, but it was a tech company in America, and they were this small startup, and they're like, oh, what we want to do is we want to get a billboard in Times Square. That's like the ultimate goal. But those things are not cheap. But you can purchase one for 30 minutes. And so what they did was that they got a 30-minute ad on one of the big screens, but they had their entire team there in advance. So they were filming loads of content around it and showing them doing all this. So it created that illusion that they were there all week.
Yeah.
So it made it look as if it was a big deal and that millions of people were seeing it in real life. But actually, because they turned it into a digital campaign, it got that buzz, and it created a bit of momentum. And I think that there was the buses and everything we did at the end of last year. But one of the big things looking back last year was back in the spring that we wanted to make a bit of a fuss about the fact we were ready. And we haven't said those 3 letters, MTD.
It was in my head there, and I think we need to get that MTD stuff in there as well.
So from a marketing point of view, we wanted to show that we were ready, that our solution was there and it was good to go. And so we thought, well, what can we do with it? Like, the team had a brainstorm and came up with, well, let's show that you can just do it from anywhere. Like it's that good to go. And so then came the idea of let's do it from space, which started off as let's send it from space. Then you come to the realization that's actually a thing. There's a company that you can go and work with who do stuff in space. So we worked with them, pulled it all together. Now, doing the tax return with the iPad and the robotic arm that submitted and it went to HMRC, that's pretty cool. But it wasn't just that on its own, it was everything that went around it. So going old school, like you're saying, we, myself and our head of sales, we dressed up in space suits at the Digital Accountancy Show and handed out flyers, because that was the day that we went live with the campaign, to get people to go watch the video online. But then we were conscious not everyone was at Digital Accountancy Show. So we did a direct mail out to people with their ticket for them to be on the kind
clever.
of going to space.
Yeah.
And then, but it was this kind of, how do you take one thing and take it further? And so it turns into not just the doing something in space. There's a video series, there's a behind the scenes series, there's the direct mail campaign, there's then the webinar showing the solution, so that you just keep going.
It's like we mentioned earlier on, it's taking a lot of the mistakes in marketing is taking it only so far and then
Drop
not going any further.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and Kirsty's
Absolutely.
all these kind of things that kind of proliferate from it are what you're
Yeah.
after. You know,
And
I
I
always
think
had an idea. Sorry, I'm
No,
just
no, you
before
go.
I forget this one. I still think it's a cracker. I'll maybe do it one of these days. Our business is, as you know, contractors, freelancers, are essentially one-man bands. And I always had this idea, like actually getting a one-man band, you know, a guy,
Yeah.
and doing something with that. But I've never done it yet. But I'll need to figure out how to do it. I still think it's a good idea. But it's
You're
talking
going to
about-
dress up yourself.
That's what I was
Well,
thinking. I'm like,
maybe, aye, I
Alan
could
is a
do
one-man
that, aye.
band.
Big enough ears, I could connect it to the symbols and stuff. You know, it's wee stupid
Yeah.
things, but I just don't know if it's enough, if it's worthwhile. But Kirsty talking about handing out flyers, got a one-man band guy and a guy handing out flyers in relevant places. Then
Yeah.
Yes.
it's old school. It's as old as it possibly could be.
Yep.
But it might just work, you know.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the thing. It's trying things. But where I was when you were mentioning about that specific campaign, but then all the things that kind of grew off it. I think maybe that's one of the differences between having like proper marketing support and trying to do it yourself is that you probably stop like at the all right, we've done this good thing and then that's it. Whereas like a marketing team will be like, right, how can we squeeze every ounce of value out of this?
Correct.
And that's the key bit. But you mentioned about MTD. We are getting towards the end, but it would be remiss of us not to speak about it. So MTD is coming in this year. Is it April, May? I don't know. It doesn't apply to me, thankfully. But it's obviously a big thing. I would say that when I'm speaking to accountants, some of them think, yep, we've got this totally sorted. Some are in a bit of a panic about it, and some haven't really even started thinking about it yet. What are you seeing, or what are you how are you kind of seeing what in terms of the profession, where are accountants at, and what should they be doing other than obviously coming and speaking to the agent?
I think that there's a real mixture in terms of the conversations I'm seeing. So there are some firms who are saying, actually, that's not the customer base that we want to grow out in. I think that will be interesting to see. The first wave is for those with over 50,000. That's going to be interesting to see. Actually, those ones are profitable as clients, perhaps, but actually, as you get into the 30,000 threshold and then the 20, and then wherever it goes beyond there, that's when it's going to get trickier, I think, for accountants and bookkeepers to work out what's the business model in this for us. Because these, as you go further down as well, it's how do you have the simplest solution? Because a lot of the people caught up in those waves aren't. It's not just that they're not ready for it; they maybe don't want it. So they don't want to be on software. They don't want to be changing the way that they work with their accountant, and they definitely don't want to be paying more money.
Yeah.
So how do you service those? And I think that here's my shameless plug, is that the FreeAgent solution, and you'd mentioned Metal before, that is a free solution to offer to these small business customers, but also folks who are getting caught up in it because they have property that they rent out. So they are a landlord. They might not see themselves as a business owner, but they're a landlord, and they're going to need to to work out how do they report on that, and how do they get it through MTD. So there's a real challenge coming there, and it's trying to work out how we're seeing actually a lot of the unrepresented coming through in terms they're signing up a lot faster than maybe we would have expected. They're getting themselves ready, but I think it's very much the tip of the iceberg.
What about yourself, Alan? I know you said it's not a huge
I'm
consideration.
kind of in the third camp that Kirsty mentioned, that we're really not looking for that. But the problem that we find, we kind of fell in between the cracks because we're kind of reluctantly involved in MTD because we've got maybe clients who had limited companies but disincorporated and are now sole traders or partnerships and what have you, and they're within the kind of above the 50 grand mark. So we've got to be across it. But for a practice perspective, it's, I suppose we're talking about niches earlier on. This is it's the opposite of niche, so it's right outside what we're used to doing. So we're finding it very, very difficult to figure out a way of making that profitable, really, because ultimately that's what we're looking for. And the honest truth is, where I think we're going to end up is we're going to do what we said about the wrong software. We're the wrong practice for these guys, so we're going to move them on. But I can't figure out another way of doing it.
Yeah.
Because if we can only do it for the 20 that we've got that fall into the criteria, then it's not going to work for us. So you've got to make a decision. Do you stick or twist? Do you get right tore into it and try and get business out of it? Or do you just accept it's not going to be there? I feel like we're going to fall in the hand it over stage for us, you know.
Yeah, which, you know, for some that might feel like, God,
it's a range, because I mean, two of them specifically, one's a window fitter that I've dealt with, that my dad dealt with, and one's a blacksmith, believe it or not. But he's our longest standing client, like by almost like a kind of decade sort of thing, you know what I mean? And it would be a wee bit of a wrench to get rid of him, but he's 78 or something, so he's not going to be about for much longer in business. I mean, no, in life. So it's probably from a business point of view, it's not really a problem or an issue, but it's something that we need to make a decision on. And as I say, we've not quite made the decision, but I think I know where we're going to end up.
Cool. Now I know that we're pretty much out of time. 2 questions for you. First one, well, actually, there's probably 3 questions, but I'll go with the first one. Who's going to win the Scottish Premier League this season? I can't believe we never spoke about football having you on, Alan. So I'm going to put you in the spot. We're in Edinburgh.
Well, I mean,
Hearts are in the lead at this point in time. I think they're still top of the league.
I would, if before Saturday, when obviously Falkirk played them on Saturday, and I seen them, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depends how you look at it, Shanklin got injured, and that's them missing Shanklin, Dan, Cammy Devlin in the centre of the park. They've got a couple of suspensions as well. Before Saturday, I'd say Hearts are on course. Looking at them, seeing how they played, they weren't very good, and they've got these injuries and what have you. I think they're, I don't know, I keep saying their bubble's going to burst, but it doesn't seem to be. It's maybe just kind of fizzling out a wee bit. I think Rangers might just catch them.
Music to my ears as a Rangers fan. Asked me that 3 months ago, and I would have said there's absolutely no chance. But
well, I would have said exactly the same. By the way,
right
you know,
now we've got
I think they've got a better chance now, and I've seen all 3 teams live this season, and Rangers out of the 3, Rangers are probably the worst.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 that I've seen live, but I think they're just building up ahead of steam.
Yeah.
You might ask who's going to win the Scottish Cup rather than the Premier League.
That's the bit that I learned.
Yeah, right, okay then, right. Yeah, Scottish Cup is winning that then.
Falkirk
definitely.
No, because Dunfermline also won at the weekend.
But Falkirk will beat Dunfermline 7-0 in the final. That would do us.
Imagine that happens.
I don't even know how far through we are.
Related question was who's going to win the manager of the year? Because for me, there's only one person.
I don't think there's a question. I don't think there's any question about that. It's definitely Big John.
It's got to be for me. Got to be. I mean, if Derek McInnes wins the league with Hearts,
maybe
it's hard to not give him it. But yeah, for me, it would be John McGlynn would be.
We'll be
what
building a
he's done is
statue of the man outside the
incredible.
stadium, I hope.
But then, I mean, Danny Riddle's been brilliant. Kirsty's Larry, can we get off of this part now? And then my very last question that I ask everybody when they come on the podcast, and I think I mentioned it earlier, it's how we've ended up, well, partly how we've ended up with yourself, Alan, sat here. But I always ask, we're all on social media, we're all pretty active on it. There's some great people there. For anybody that's listening in, is there one person that you would say people should be, if they're not following along, that they should be following along, whether it's because they give really good practical advice or that they're entertaining, whatever it is, but just one person. Yourself first, Kirsty.
So I'm going to fly the flag for more Scottish people on the podcast, and also the female flag. So I would nominate Laura Taylor.
Laura, so I'm
Laura.
meeting Laura for lunch. I think she's going to come on the podcast. We're meeting
Excellent.
next Friday.
Yes, I'm taking credit for that one.
Yes.
So I didn't know Laura at all until kind of the last year, where she just kind of came on my radar. I was then very pleased to see she also lives in Fife, so that's exciting. And I went along to the launch of her Ritmos.
Were you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got invited, but I couldn't make it.
Oh, that was good.
If I'd known you were there, I'd have made a special effort.
Yeah, we learned how to spin plates, like
Alright,
literally
okay.
spinning plates. But it's great. I love what she's doing
Yeah.
and how she's taken kind of what she's built herself and actually using that to help others build, and seeing the other people who were in the room there, because it was mostly accountants in the room, but actually how other people were talking about their one-to-ones that they have with her and so on. It's she's doing really powerful work, but not in a kind of showy way.
Yeah.
She's also a good example of the cooperation elaboration or whatever they decided to land on, because when she still had a practice, she gave me business and vice versa. Only one each, one went one way, one went the other, but I suppose it's indicative of our character as well to do that. You know?
And for yourself, Alan, if you to go with one person,
would it need to be somebody that would get in the room? Because there's a guy called Jason Stats who's an accounting influencer in America who's outstanding. He does a daily podcast, The Daily Jason. I rate him very highly.
He's brilliant, isn't he?
I mean, he's big time, like, so you'd be lucky to get him.
No, well, I know he's been at the Digital Accountancy Show. I think they've had him twice as the keynote. So I follow along.
Jordan Vickery at Vinyl would be a good guy to speak to. And I think a lot of your audience would be really interested in vinyl. So that would probably be my UK bet.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. The time's just flown in. We didn't get to speak to about half of the stuff that I wanted to, which I normally think's a good sign, because that means we've had a good conversation. I hope it's been a good conversation for you guys. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how best to do that? Can they reach out to you on LinkedIn or?
It's probably the obvious way, isn't
the
it?
easiest way to find me. Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that we put the details on. I mean, most of the people watching this are going to know you anyway, but if they're not, and
famous, Kirsty.
Well, you are. I'm a marketer. We're in the background.
If any contractors or anything like that are looking for a new accountant that's got a sense of humour, Alan, are you happy for them to reach out?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Great. Thank
I
you.
just want to understand how you could sit there with sleeves on, because it's bloody freezing in here.
Aye, I'm a wee bit nippy right enough, but we'll pretend it was summertime.
It's one of the Glasgow hard men.
Yeah, certainly not hard man. But anyway, thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Pleasure.
Bye.